Welcome back to the workshop. At the end of the last video, part 9, I said I'd start this one off with the trial build-up. I had to make some small incidental parts like bushes and what have you just to get it set up properly, but that's been done. I've actually made a start over on the mill with the ram slide. I had a bit of a sanity check and thought about that for a while. When I went back to the drawings, I found I'd made a slight miscalculation in the offset of the ram slide itself, so I've had to redraw those, and this has resulted in the hole for the file in the top plate being in slightly the wrong place, so I'll have to enlarge that, but that's for later. For the moment, I'll hand you over to me over at the tool bench, and we'll see how we got on with the trial build. Thank you, John. Over at the workbench, which I incorrectly called a tool bench, we've got the mock-up in place. I haven't secured the top plate and columns to the base so that we can see the motion in working order. This is obviously not restrained vertically by the slide, but if I hold it and rotate the ball wheel by hand, you can see the vertical motion replicated, and that all seems to be working quite well. The pivot here is a little bit loose, so I'm going to have to investigate that and maybe have to bore it out and re-bush it. For some reason that's wobbling about on the dowel pin. However, that's for later. As I think I just said, I've already made a start on the ram slide. Made a slight error in the drawing, but that's now been corrected and I've redone those, and I've done the initial cutout on the ram slide itself. So without further ado, I'll go over to the mill and we'll see how we're getting on with that. We've now moved back to the mill. As you can see, the ram slide material is in the vise, and I've cut out a central portion of the dovetail. Luckily I managed to stop short of the revised edges, and I'm now going up and down with the roughing out mill, taking out the majority of the dovetail before going in with a dovetail cutter and actually doing the dovetails themselves. So I'll carry on with this, and then I'll come back in a minute and see how I'm getting on. As I just said, actually some while ago, over 24 hours in fact, I finished cutting out the basic square or rectangular area of the dovetail. I stopped just short of the full depth on the slideway. I've gone full depth 7.5mm on the central channel, and now I'm about to make a start on the dovetails itself. I've got a 20mm dovetail cutter in here. I shall be going in stages, and once again I won't be boring you with that, but I'll do that off camera. This distance again is very slightly oversized to allow for a bit of wriggle room. When the cutter comes up to this edge, and so the dovetail is almost fully formed, I'll come over to the other side and repeat the procedure. Then I'll put some dowels in, and I'll make some measurements at various places across the dovetail, just to check that A, it's parallel, and B, it's coming to the right size. And when I've cut these dovetails, I'll bring you back and you can see how I'm getting on. There's a temporary halt in the proceedings whilst I've set up this shot. Just I'm halfway through cutting the dovetail. I've lost my little pointer, but anyway, here's my finger. I've finished cutting, well, not finished cutting, but I've done the preliminary cut on the dovetail up to this edge. I'm now going to shift the cutter across to this side and do the same thing over here, at which point I'll bring in a couple of dowel rings, set them up if I can get this in shot. There we go. Set them up like this and measure the distance between, and that will give me the final dimensions for the dovetail, symmetrical, or rather not symmetrical but asymmetric to the centre line of the workpiece. And let's hope that goes okay, as done before, so no reason why I shouldn't do again. And I'll bring you back when that's done. I've just about finished the milling of the dovetails now, and as I hope you can see, there are a couple of 5mm dowel pins setting in the angle of the dovetail itself, and I'm now going to measure between the two and see how it comes out against the drawing. I'll reach around the camera. That one measures 19.72. Oh, you can get that in the camera shot. The sun's broken out now. Well, if you can't see that, you just have to take my word for it, I'm afraid. Slide these up the other end and hope we're somewhere near parallel. This is a little wider by the feel of it. Although I tightened it up a bit. 19.7, I'll call it 6, so pretty darn close. So I'm going to leave it at that and not try and fiddle around with it anymore. Yeah, I've been thinking about the order of operations for machining, and whilst I've got the slide in this position, I'm now going to drop the dovetail down and do the finish cut along here at 7mm, and after that I'm going to mill the angles to the gib strip, and I'm going to, well, you'll see in a minute when I've got the gib strip mounted. It's the same method I used before in an earlier video, and once that's done I shall leave the setup with the gib strip in there, turn it on its side and drill the gib adjusting screws so that I can go through with a drill, and if I've got one the right size I'll go through with a 2mm end mill just to put some dimples in the gib strip before stripping that out, cleaning everything up, taking off the rough edges, and then we'll go on to the ram itself. That's for another part of the video. All in all, I think that's gone fairly well, better than I anticipated actually. Alright, another change for the setup. I've left the ram slide set up, clamped up in the mill vise, and so I'm now going to mill the edges of the gib strip. It's considerably longer than it needs to be, not longer, I mean wider, and I've got it set down, as far as I can tell, on the on the base. There's a piece of I think it's 3mm silver steel here, and ideally I'd be using a pair of sliding parallels. I don't possess such an animal, so I'm having to make do with 3 of these angled plates. The 3-degree one here bears against the rod, which forces the gib strip into the dovetail, and then there's a 1 degree and a 2 degree, which last time I was at school many years ago added up to 3, so that they end up parallel, and these are squeezed together. In a minute I'll just give them a gentle tap with a hammer to make sure they're tight. I've got a 2-flute 5mm cutter in the collet. I'll come down and just mill an angle across the top here and just take it down to this edge here. I'm hoping you're able to see what I'm pointing at. When I've done that, I'll dismantle it, flip it round the other way, and put this silver steel actually underneath. But when we get that far, I'll come back and show you the setup. So this won't take very long to mill, so I'll put the VFD on, and well, if you want to, you can sit through this. It's just nibbling the top. I think I'll do this in 2 stages. See where that gets us. Speed it up a bit. No, that's not holding, is it? Oh, and you know why. I didn't tighten it up, did I? That's rather rogered up the brass. Luckily I've got another piece, so I'll go and cut that and come back in a minute. Okay. Well, can't afford to do that very many more times, because of this is my last piece of brass this size. So I've now tighten these up, hopefully enough, with a hammer, and just check that it's seated. Yeah, it sounds like it. And we'll give it another go. Oops, I'll come in slightly less aggressively this time. And not only that, but I'll go up the other end, and then I can conventionally mill, not time mill. That's better. I feel sufficiently satisfied that that will cut full width now, so we'll go across and do it in one pass. Quite go all the way across, so I'll go down another, well, not a great deal really. Just done it. Right, that's done that edge. Now I'm going to flip it round, and hopefully there's going to be enough meat for me to put an angle on there. So I need to take these wedges out. I'll set it up and then come back. Right, that turned out to be a bit of a mental exercise in itself. What I've done, I've flipped the jib strip over so that the angle is, or was, flat on the bottom face, went along with the scriber and marked the line where it comes to the top of the slide. I then had to put I think it's a 2mm piece of silver steel under here to raise the jib up. A piece of 3mm silver steel to bear on it so that it holds it flat against the angled face, and then reinserted the angle wedges, and this time I have tightened them down with judicial use of a soft hammer. And if all goes well, I'll just mill down to this line scribed on here and all should be well. He said with not a great deal of confidence. I'm going to go down 1/2 mil. First off, always go the wrong way. That's 1/2 mm downwards, but full width of the jib. And we go that way with the table. Seems to be holding up okay. It looks to me like it's come down to at least one of the lines. There's the burrs taken off and the corners rounded over slightly to give a little more clearance. Hopefully when I take it all apart and try it, that'll be okay. So I'll just do that now and you can come back and see what's happened. Okay, that's finished then. I've remounted it in the dovetail, the jib strip that is. I had to go back and take another 1/2 mil off because it was very slightly proud of this top face. But anyway, these are the gib adjusting screws I'm going to use. They're far too long, so I'm going to have to cut those down in the lathe, but for the moment these are 4mm. I've gone up in size to 4mm so that I can get a 3mm cutter through and put the dimples in. I've also decided to put 4 and not 3 in, just to give a more evenly spaced pressure on the dovetail. So now it's got to be repositioned. I'll take the knee down for a bit. That end mill's got to come out before I cut my fingers, my hand, the shreds on it. But for the moment, I'll just be careful. Just the parallels out. Right, now this has got to go that way round, and clean this up so as not to cock it over at all. Whether that is going to clamp okay or not, I don't know. Get rid of those gib screws in a second. It's only clamping at the bottom, but I think that'll be okay. There's only going to be vertical forces on there, so I'll take this out, swap it over for a centre drill, recalculate where the holes are going to go, and I'll make a start on those holes for tapping. Okay, set up, I drilled the first hole. I've gone down until I'm just touching the gib strip. That's a 4mm tapping size, 3.3mm drill. Just about to do the second hole, and then I'll do, well, guess what, the third and fourth hole. I'll do those two off camera. Then I'll come back in with a 3mm end mill, drill the locating divot in each hole, and then come back again, and having taken the jib strip out, and do the tapping. Check the depth again. There. Yes, no, that's right. Right, I'll fade you out there, and I'll bring you back when I've changed out for the end mill. Off camera, I have drilled these tapping size for 4mm, changed out to a 3mm diameter end mill. I've gone down, and hopefully I've just made a small flat on the jib strip. It brought up a little bit of brass cuttings when I went down the measured distance. I'm now going to dismantle the wedges, and there we go. I am then hoping, well not hoping, I will go down again with the tapping drill just to make sure that this has gone through cleanly on all 4 holes, and then tap the holes, and that'll be the slide finished, apart from clearing up the rags obviously. Come out that way. There we go. Ouch. That is sharp. And that has turned out just like I hoped it would. What I'll do is shorten the grub screws, and then I'll turn a little recess area on the end to just under 3mm, and they will then locate in each of these. Stop it. Well, that's condensed a fairly long afternoon's machining down into a few minutes. The grub screw holes are now drilled, tapped and countersunk. Just get the detritus out as much as I can. I've just got to go around and deburr it all, run a stone, whether you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going to run a stone along the inside there just to take the burrs off of the grub screw holes. And yeah, that's not turned out. Bit of a burr on there. It's not turned out too badly. And once that's cleaned up, that'll be okay. Right, well I think that'll do. Whoopsie daisy. I think that'll do for this one. Next up will be the ram slide itself, but I've got to fix that to a jig. I think I've worked out probably how I'm going to do it. That's for next time. So, if you have been, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.